Hey everyone, it's Sully here from Gear 182, joined by my lovely handsome friend Stefan.
Hello everyone.
So we were very lucky to get some photos from Tom DeLonge's guitar tech of his rig that's kind of normally hidden behind stage. So we thought today in this episode, me and Stefan would kind of run through things, give you a kind of quick rundown of what everything might be, and just give you some of our thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, this was one of a big request that we've had for a while, and granted, Justin has given us some really good pictures of it. Personally, I'm not as familiar with the app modeling and all that stuff like Sully is. So having him on here really, it's going to be a lot of me asking honestly him questions about it, because it's. Even just looking at it, it's like a different language. So I'm personally really excited to get in on this. So maybe we should get started. So recently they did release a picture of what Tom's rig from Justin's area anyways looks like. So Sully, maybe if you want to kind of help start from top, work our way down, kind of what everything is, what it does, what's the use of them, kind of all that cool stuff.
Very top, very boring. It's just a 1U rack plate across the top, just a blank plate, just to basically fill space and make sure there's no holes. But below that, you've got the Furman P1800, which is a voltage regulator kind of power conditioner. And those things are really useful for kind of live bands and acts that go out on the road, because one, it protects Tom's gear, and it also protects the venue as well. So if there's like a power surge or something goes wrong, instead of everything going boom and you like losing the front of house desk or the whole of Tom's rig just dies, that's there to help kind of protect his gear, essentially,
like a surge protector almost. But
yeah, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so basically something just to protect kind of Tom's rig and everyone else's stuff in the venue as well. And then below that we got two Shure AD4Q 4-channel guitar receivers. So each one of those strips of those Shure strips are 4 channels, 4 receivers each, so that enables Tom to have 8 guitars simultaneously with packs, which he can kind of run. And we know, Tom's got loads of cool guitars, so they kind of need that in the rack to make sure that Justin can just pick up a guitar, hand it to him, and it's ready to go with the pack and receiver. And there's other parts to it we'll touch on that kind of link into that, but essentially that's the wireless receivers for his packs.
So you theoretically he could strum, hand it to Justin, and pick up the other one while it's still being played simultaneously, and you wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's a super rig. Like a lot of bands have like 2 channels or 2 like receivers and packs, but they've essentially got 8.
You need 8.
You need 8, which is pretty wild. And then kind of below that we got 2 radial JX44 guitar signal managers. So there's a few that you can see like the colors, because there's a few of them that are yellow and it's the same brand, but essentially that's kind of components that help manage that signal. And on the other side we'll talk about it, but that helps to switch signals. So on the other side there's the foot selectors, which normally a lot of bands would use their kind of pedals on the floor to change things. But I remember when we spoke to Jeff, they were talking about having everything kind of run through MIDI, and MIDI essentially enables them to program everything. So everything is linked to the entire set. So the pyrotechnics, Tom's patches for his guitars, everything can be triggered and programmed with MIDI, which is what that signal will help kind of process. Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's a really looking at this, it's a really cool, interesting, very intricate rig, and it's like it is a gear nerd. It's this is good. But under that again, we've got another radial backtrack, which this is one that caught me off guard, because normally this is something that you would use as like an audio switcher for like your backing tracks.
Yeah.
So you have like a redundancy. So if one breaks, you normally switch it over. So my only guess with this is that maybe that's being used to switch over the Axe effects, because he's got a redundancy below the Axe effects. So my kind of hedging of a guess is that's there in case something goes wrong. Switch over to the redundancy, and then boom, you're ready to go, even if one of your Axe effects has a meltdown or doesn't work. So I think that's why they'll have that included in the rig.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's all about like risk mitigation, isn't it? Which is funny to think of like a band doing this, but it's making sure if something goes wrong, the show doesn't stop, and they've always got a backup.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I think that would be there for, and then that kind of leads nicely on to having the two Axe Effects Frees, which are basically digital effects amp modelers, which a lot of bands these days use because it's so much easier to control the sound, and also you can have so many different types of like cabinets, amp heads, all just contained inside these little boxes, and it makes things super easy. And we know that like Mark has been using the Kemper for a long time, and now he's switched over to the Quad Cortex. So it's it's nice to see Tom kind of transition into the modern age of how like bands approach their kind of amp and cab system. But yeah, again, there's only two there, so he's got a redundancy ready
just
in case one breaks.
So let's say right on their Anthem, it's Anthem Part 3 that you can kind of see. And so would Justin theoretically be changing the scenes or not the scene, like not the individual effects, but this like the song scene itself? So let's say Anthem Part 3 ends and Down comes on next, and then so on Down, then you'd have your own scene specifically for that. So you'd have a clean, dirty flange or whatever. Okay. That's so cool. Yeah, that's actually really, really cool.
And like with the MIDI thing, like like even the State of the Game for the Kids, you got that nice like clean intro, and then the chorus goes off with a nice like distortion. The MIDI can be programmed so it knows exactly when in the song it changes, so it can change automatically.
It just does it automatic, yeah. Because a lot of people were accusing Tom of not using. It was all backtracking, whatever, but it does. It seems like it's once a certain part hits, it just automatically jumps into a different scene or a different effect on it. That's so cool. I've talked to you a lot. I've talked to Manny, who's another one that I've talked to a lot, just about these things in general, Axe Effects, Cortex, all these things of like, okay, what one to go with, and we're just doing a lot of research in them. It's unbelievable what we've come from having like these big amps with these effect pedals and everything to little boxes now that does 100 times more. So it's so cool to see. But so he's got two of them, so one of them obviously in case the other one does break down, and then front of house where he is, the switchers, how many switches are on his at the front for the floor pedal?
I'm not sure on the floor pedal, because there's some foot switches that Justin will have like on the right side. See. But I think that looks to be to help switch the signal of the guitars, so when he hands Tom, he can quickly switch.
Got it.
But that could be, again, it's an assumption. It could all be kind of pre-programmed. So I know on their set list, don't they, the text, they write down the guitars they use for certain songs. So it could already be kind of pre-programmed, or they could be doing it manually. But it's hard to know unless you kind of see behind the scenes.
And that's the thing, like when the whole Padre 2.0 whatever came out, and Tom wanted to play it that night. It's like, well, it has to get set up. It's not just, when they say, it has to still get set up. It's not just, check the intonation, check the strings, check the action, all this. It's now getting it into, the rig with all these programmed in, so that guitar now does. It's so much that goes into it. It seems like, anyways.
It's the funny thing, you see loads of people saying like, oh, why don't they play this song, why don't they play that song? And it's not just like, oh, we're going to change the set list, like pyrotechnics change, all the MIDI program has to change. Like like you say, there's just so much to it.
It's a production as opposed to everything else, right? And it's crazy to think of. Like, just adding a song you can't just do anymore, like especially at that level. So, okay, so
it's cool.
Go to the right side. Oh, sorry, what?
Oh no, I was gonna say, and then at the bottom of that left side is just a 3U rack drawer. So he's probably got like cables and stuff maybe tucked away at the bottom. But switching over to the right side, at the top, this is I'm kind of wondering what he might have here, because it's like an open face 1U rack drawer. You can see it will slide out. I can see at the moment there's nothing there, so I'm wondering if he pulls that out to have like drinks on, or maybe puts a set list there, makes notes.
It could, it could just be for like storage purposes or something too.
And then below that he's got the radial JR2 dual foot switch and the JR5 remote foot switch as well. Again, that's to manage that signal manager on the left hand side to make sure you can switch out guitars. kind of as and when he needs to for Tom when he changes them over for songs.
And then below that...
Hey everyone, sorry about that. We had a little minor technical difficulty, but the part that's missing I'll just run over quickly now. So that part there is the iConnectivity Maya XM, which is basically the network MIDI kind of brain of Tom's rig, and it allows all of Tom's gear that has a MIDI capability to communicate with each other, and also helps to communicate with Blink's overall rig so everything is in sync via the MIDI function.
So below that we have the Rupert Neve 5211, which was something kind of threw me, because this is like a 2-channel kind of mic preamp, which you kind of get a real nice like vintage like analog saturation like on your vocals, and sometimes people will use it on drum mics and guitar mics when you when you mic up like a guitar cabinet. But my guess is maybe they're using that to kind of give that nice warm like saturation on like Tom's guitar, so maybe they're kind of running it through that to get that kind of vintage outboard gear kind of sound. But you know, I guess who knows.
Yeah, that could definitely be.
Yeah, it's nice to see some like kind of old, because that's kind of like old tech. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything else is like super digital, and you've got a nice like piece of vintage like outboard gear, which it's cool to see.
Yeah, but having something classic still.
Yeah, kind of throwing back to because I know Jerry Finn loved the Rupert Neve stuff, so it's a nice little kind of hat nod to Jerry Finn.
Yeah.
And then below that again is another 1U blank rack plate, and the thing below that, I'm not in, like, this is the one thing that I wasn't completely sure, because you can't really make out a lot of detail, but you can see like a little bit on the left side of it, and then like 4 little kind of spacings. So my guess is maybe that's where they can charge their wireless patch for the guitars, maybe, but it's really hard to tell because you just can't really make out what it is. But if anyone watching the video knows and they've seen the picture, please let us know. But that's my kind of guess.
Yeah, I'd have no idea.
Yeah, it kind of looks like some like 80s tech. You got these like little like kind of little lights on
green
it
green and red lights. Yeah,
yeah.
Those the computer rooms in the sci-fi movies.
Yeah, and then below that we got the Furman F1500, which is basically an uninterruptible power supply. So even if something happens, there's a surge, it can still hold and give power for a certain amount of time until you can fix the problem. So it won't just be Tom's guitar's dead. There's something there to keep the power running, so the rig doesn't, lose its patches or something like that. And then below that we've got another 3U rack drawer as well, which I guess he's probably got some cans of beer in, or hot sauce from To the Stars, who knows.
Yeah, the hot sauce. Oh, that's actually really cool. It's crazy to think of how much goes into the rigs these days. Like I know it's simple Axe effects or whatever it is, but just like how everything else goes into like a bigger production. Like, could you get away with just the Axe effects? Probably, at least for like a certain part of it, yeah. But just how everything else that goes in with it is pretty crazy. And getting everything fine-tuned, and it's takes a lot of work. These guys, these techs that work with the guys are just incredible what they're able to do to make it look so, effortless at the front of house. So.
Yeah, that's the cool thing, like, because there's so much going on. It's a really complex thing, but like how Justin's put this together, it's so clean. Mm-hmm. It's even got like LED lights, so you've got cool kind of like purple and like red lights flashing on the sides of the rack. But like it's just a work of art, really. It's super cool.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. If I'm not mistaken, I think Jeff made this.
Sorry, Jeff.
But the way that Justin has it all set up, anyways, 100%. It's so clean.
Yeah.
One thing that would be really cool is if they did sell the settings for Axe effects.
Oh,
I know a lot of people have asked, and you never know. It'd be really cool to have that, though, because in today's world, I mean, you're selling settings, so I mean, you could theoretically throw it up onto the stars, and away you go.
I think that would cause the internet to break. You see so many people just trying to get Tom's
a lot of people would be buying those Axe effects. As Axe effects, I'd reach out to them, and I don't think they realize the scope of the gear for this band. So, but I appreciate it. This was awesome. This is a really good learning thing, even for me, knowing what kind of all that stuff is. Because again, I just think when I think of Tom's rig from electronics perspective, I just think Axe effects, and that's kind of it. But there's so much more that goes into it that polishes it and makes it actually complete. So That's really, really cool. I really appreciate it.
That's cool, man. I think it's like amazing in this day and age. Like you think of like 20 years ago or 15 years ago, like trying to look at Blink's like gear, like how hard it would be to find stuff, and then now like we're in the age of social media, and then Fractal just kind of like, yeah, here you go, here's like the holy grail of like
Here's everything.
rigs. Just
yeah. Quality of cameras
so
and
cool.
stuff now, it's unreal. Like just like Tom's rig before was it was still pretty, like I mean when Doug would set it up, in I guess like after the first reunion in 09, it was the Vox amp and Fender, and then his rack, and even then everything was all like analog and stuff. Everything had like all the pedals, so when you switch it, some pedals would turn off and turn on, and to go from all of that, making sure the settings are perfect on every pedal, and to go from that to this, it's to not seeing any amps on stage, it's definitely cool. It's I mean, we're in 2024, so but yeah, cool. Well, guys, if you guys have any other questions about it, please use the comments to ask. If you guys know what those four, or that patch, or the rack that's second from the bottom on the right, let us know what that is too. I really would appreciate it. I'm interested. So yeah, hopefully you guys liked it. Sully, this is the first technically episode, so happy to have you on it.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, please make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, all of the regular YouTube stuff. You might not think it does anything, but it really, really does help. So until the next one, guys, thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Cheers, everyone.